Rolling, rolling, rolling. I'm back in the studio. Bronzed. Got the summer beard. Feeling good. How are you?
How long are you in Austin for?
Until tomorrow.
The idea is go back and forth.
Every once in a while, yeah. We'll be back full time at the end of August, and I'll be back once for a week between now and then. Yeah, I've got to do something for Blaze tomorrow up in Dallas, and then they're flying me back to Philly tomorrow night.
Awesome.
Yeah. Excuse my voice, freaks. I've had a wicked cold, a wicked summer cold this week. Really attacked my throat. So my voice is a bit scratchy right now. Thank you for bearing with me. It's been a great week, though.
It has been a good week. Nice, relaxing summer week.
Yeah. Are you distracted already? Did we not talk about this last week?
I'm not. I'm just making sure that the Nostr stream is working, which it is.
Okay.
So going forward, our Nostr-enabled stream with the live chat that includes Zaps, so you can send Bitcoin transactions natively, is at rhr.tv/stream. So it redirects to our Nostr live stream page on zap.stream. Just FYI to all the freaks out there. Set that up this week. Last week, I kind of last 2 weeks, I ninja launched it using my personal account. But now Rabbit Hole Recap is officially on Nostr.
It's about time. I need to get TFTC up there.
Gradually, then suddenly.
It's happening. It's happening. I see Pablo in the chat already. Pablo, you're building some cool stuff. Like the AI, we might have talked about this last week, but the AI bots that compete to get tasks done on price is pretty cool over Nostr.
Yeah, I mean, I have it in the list. He's calling it Nostr Data Vending Machine, but you're right. Pablo is in our live chat. Pablo is the ride or die freak that historically has been in both live chats on YouTube and on Nostr. The guy like single-handedly is like building out a ton of projects in Nostr, and one of them is Nostr Data Vending Machine. And the core of this whole thing, and he also has helped lead this Nostr improvement proposal around it. But the core of the whole thing is, if we expect AI to take off, which I think is a pretty safe assumption, I think there's certain aspects of AI that are kind of like blockchain, where it's a buzzword that people just like saying. So we will hear there's a lot of noise in the AI world.
We're definitely in a hype cycle, but there is some signal.
Yeah. You'll hear a ton of people just like drop AI in different situations, just like they drop blockchain throughout the years. But there's a core component of it that is real and that is happening. And basically what you end up in a situation with is you end up in a situation where there's a bunch of machines running different AI implementations, right? And they can do different tasks for you. Now, those machines are going to need to interact with humans, and they're going to need to interact with other machines. And the way they do that logically follows that it's going to be with a protocol, a communication protocol that doesn't require permission, that is open and interoperable, that is censorship resistant, and doesn't have centralized third parties. And Nostr is ideal for that. Anyone working in the AI world can easily integrate Nostr as a communications layer. Now, this work requires payment, and these machines will need to be able to receive and send payments. And the same exact logic flows that they will want. It makes the most sense. It's the most ideal for them to use a payments protocol that is open, permissionless, censorship resistant, and doesn't require centralized third parties. And that's where Bitcoin comes into the picture. So the way I'll speak for both of us, I know sometimes we say I'm only speaking for myself, but I'll speak for both me and Marty, that the way we're looking at this develop is the expectation that we'll see a situation where most AI usage will revolve around Nostr as a communication protocol and Bitcoin as a payments protocol. So you have Nostr, AI, and Bitcoin all in tandem, complementary to each other. Now, we live in a fiat fucking clown world, so it might take a little while before that becomes obvious to many. I think very few understand this in today's age. Currently, very few understand this. But I think in hindsight, it's going to be incredibly obvious. Like, it'll be so fucking obvious to people, and a lot of people will say, like, "Oh, I always knew that was going to be the case." In hindsight,
Yeah, completely agree. You are correct to say that you can speak on behalf of both of us in that explanation, because I do see that's where it's going to, and I think I've got some business ideas in here. Just thinking about the full stack, because obviously Cody Lowe, we talked about this last week, but I literally have not been able to stop thinking about this for 2 weeks after Cody gave his demo at the Lightning Summit, and then he came on the podcast, and just thinking of the full stack of what you can do, particularly like not even like including Nostr yet, but just like focusing on L402 payments, leveraging the Lightning Network to enable gated API access to AI, and that going back to the compute, like the full stack. I think there is a possibility to create like a circular Bitcoin company that's purely run on Sats flows, and what you do is you get your API token to maybe like an open source like a Llama. You own the GPUs to it, or maybe you don't even need. If in this case, you don't even need an API token. You own the GPUs that plug into the LLM, and so that you just put a pure Lightning Network paywall on that. So you own the GPUs, you host them at a hosting facility that also does Bitcoin mining, and so therefore they understand Bitcoin pretty intuitively, and then you convince the hosting facility to sign up with a service like Synode or Satoshi Energy, so that you can pay your power bill over the Lightning Network immediately, and you just create
the whole stack just integrated, like a beautiful circular economy.
Yeah, like I think that's where
By
this
the way,
could go in
Marty
the next few
says
years.
llama, he doesn't mean the animal.
No, that's the open source Facebook LLM.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because it gets really confusing if you think he meant the animal in that
No.
commentary.
But like,
no, yeah, I mean, it's just going to be integrated across the whole fucking stack. I mean, Bitcoin will become the standard of money. Is been the thesis for a while, and I think Nostr will become the standard of communication.
Yeah, but like that stack that I just explained, I think that's like low hanging fruit. Like, it could be the first to market, like fully Sats flowed encompass business.
This is like left curve, low IQ, super easy to comprehend use case, right? Yeah. I mean, I'm not. This is not me
calling me left curve.
Rating it. Yeah, I think the crazy shit we can't comprehend. Like, I'm humble enough to just, I have no idea. But that one is just super easy to comprehend.
Yeah.
It's like Nostr in general, with this idea, like Nostr as a social media replacement, as a Twitter competitor, Reddit competitor. We have someone on here that is using it for like a Q&A competitor. Those are all very easy to comprehend. And I think Nostr will dominate in those sectors as well. But I think the really cool implications of Nostr are just right side of the bell curve, and I don't pretend to really understand the implications of it.
No, not yet. But you can see it. It's happening. Like, again, like Zap.stream. Actually, Ty and I had this conversation. How does Zap.stream work? Like, where is the video file being stored? It's not on the relay. They're just picking up.
No, so Kieran and Carnage, who manage Zap.stream, are getting streamed. We're streaming using OBS through Restream, and then Restream is sending them the stream. So we're paying Restream for bandwidth, right? And Restream is sending out our stream to YouTube and Twitch and Twitter, and now Zap.stream and Bitcoin TV, right? Now Kieran and Carnage are hosting a centralized, cloud server that is then relaying that to people that are watching it on their portal, just like YouTube is. But they're using this open protocol that is Nostr to make it really easy to implement and seize the network effects of Nostr, right? So everyone is signing in with their Nostr keys rather than having a separate Zap.stream account, and everyone already has their payment payments set up via Nostr using Lightning addresses. So they were able to whip this thing up in a weekend and have all this insane functionality that makes it incredibly useful for what we do here. I mean, obviously from our perspective, it's really cool that we can take value directly from our audience and they can zap us to support the show. But you can even zap individual participants in the live chat. Like Pablo said that Parker will be here soon, less than 12 months. And I was able to just zap him 100 sats, but any participant can zap any other person in the chat. Now, Zap.stream itself is not, decentralized or censorship resistant. But you could imagine if Zap.stream started censoring, someone else could easily stand up a competitor and we could all move to it without losing our network effect, because we still have the same follower graph and network as Nostr to begin with. Mm-hmm. So we're not locked into them, but it's not inherently censorship resistant itself. And then last but not least, that obviously comes with expense, right? And how does YouTube get around that expense? YouTube gets around that expense by doing surveillance and selling ads to users. The way Zap.stream handles it is I load up our Zap.stream. I basically send them a lightning payment, and then we pay them sats per minute that we air.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's their business model. Now, right now, they're in growth stage or whatever, so they're not charging us enough. I think it's 10 sats per minute. But that's the basic rundown of how this all works.
Yeah, value for value. And then it'll create, and then you just have to hope as a streamer that your audience is zapping you more than you're paying for using the service.
Yeah, I mean, this idea that we're not paying to stream to YouTube, right, is bullshit, right? It's just fiat shit hidden behind the surface. We're paying for it with giving YouTube complete control over our content and our audience. In this situation, you take out all that fiat bullshit and you just pay them. You pay them for the service they're offering, which is hosting the chat and hosting the video player.
Okay, sweet. It's very exciting, man.
Pretty fucking cool.
I'm very optimistic. I shout out to the Austin Bitcoin Design Club. 1 year anniversary last night here in Austin, Texas. A bit embarrassed to admit that last night was the first ABDC I finally made it to, but I made it nonetheless, and I tweeted it out, but it's just really cool to see what's happening. There was a presentation from the head designer at Strike, and it was just incredibly well done, seeing the thought that went into the design decisions that they made within their app, and the process that they have for ongoing design changes was incredibly insightful. And then obviously it was a meetup with a bunch of designers, so the feedback and the questions they had were insightful as well. And it's just really, it's one thing I've been passionate about over the last few years, is really trying to tap into the design community outside of Bitcoin to get them to come into Bitcoin, because I've said this multiple times, but if you're a designer looking to leave your mark from a UX UI perspective, Bitcoin and the different layers that are being built on top of it are an incredibly wide open canvas to leave your mark on. And it was really cool to see Sahil and Paul, what they've built with their particular design meetup here, and the conversations around approaching how to create intuitive and inspiring experiences as you're using Bitcoin related apps and products. It's a hard problem to solve.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, we've talked about this at length for years, that it's been a pain point. And it's a pain point we're going to see in Nostr world too. And why is that? Is because I think usually when you see these open protocols get built out, the first people in the door are usually developers, and they're usually building for other developers. And you need to kind of get past that friction point of, okay, a non-developer opens this app and has no idea what the fuck's going on. How do they interact with it, and how is it natural with them? And how do we avoid them watching a 3-hour BTC sessions video? because if someone has to watch a 3-hour tutorial video, they're never going to fucking figure it out.
Yeah. It's got to be intuitive. It's still a lot to do, freaks. Still a lot to do. We got a pretty big list. Have you been orbed yet?
Never. Resist the orb, resist the check.
Okay, good. Just had to check. Pun intended.
Did you do the orb just so that you could get keep your blue check?
No, but like Chester Copperpot, I made the orb scan my brown eye, and it came back as invalid. So
I don't think you get the pre-mine for that.
No.
Should we go into this a little bit? I mean, I'm sure WorldCoin's on people's radar. Did we talk about it last week?
We've talked about it over the last month, but should we do Clark's dashboard and then jump into it?
Yeah, do Clark's dashboard. I just wanted real quick. I know we've already talked about it a lot, but we just keep troubleshooting on air. I don't think I might have fucked something up on Zap's stream. I don't know if the audience can zap us. I think they can just zap each other. We'll figure that out for next week if that's the case. Anyway, go to Clark Moody's dashboard.
Clark Moody's dashboard. Current price of Bitcoin is 29,125 cuck bucks. One cuck buck's going to get you 3,433 sats. Currently sitting at a $566.0 billion market cap. We're at block height 800,525. We've crossed over the 800,000 block since we last met here. Big, unimportant milestone, but we're over 800,000. We're less than 40,000 blocks away from the next difficulty adjustment. That will be in 39,475 blocks. That was good math on the go, Marty. Good on you. We had a difficulty adjustment a couple days ago. It was a negative 2.9%. So difficulty has fallen. We are 1,843 blocks away from the next adjustment, which is estimated to be on August 9th, 2023. So that is next a week from next Tuesday, so 2 Tuesdays from now. There are currently 145,064 transactions in Clark's mempool. And if we scan over to mempool.space, they are seeing 261,029 transactions, 100 blocks. We're almost below 100 blocks of mempool congestion here. Zooming back to Clark's dashboard, there are currently 8,360.04 Bitcoin in unspent capacity in Samurai's Whirlpool. That is $243.3 million of unspent value. And now to the orb content.
Boom. Thank you, Marty. So it looks like the zaps are working. They're just not showing for some reason. We'll figure it out. We appreciate all the freaks who continue to support the show with Bitcoin. And join us in the live chat. I see Jack's machine in the YouTube live chat asking if Elapal is any good. Nope, it's a piece of shit. Don't trust it.
I've never heard of it.
Feel free to, it's just another cheap Chinese hardware wallet. There's so many of them. Feel free to do your own research and not trust me on that. But if you want my personal recommendation, it's Cold Card. And you should just consider buying one of those. WorldCoin. In disclosure, Cold Card's a sponsor of Rabbit Hole Recap and part of the 1031 family of portfolio companies. You can go to 1031.vc to see our full list of portfolio companies. But the reason they're a sponsor and part of 1031 is because we both personally think it's the best, just for what it's worth. WorldCoin. Venture capital, traditional venture capital, some of the biggest funds in the world, Silicon Valley, even SBF is on their cap table, decided to launch
a hard launch.
Decided to launch this concept of a shitcoin that every single person in the world receives a portion of the shitcoin when they register. They called it WorldCoin. It is formally launched this week. And it revolves around this idea of scanning your eyeballs using a orb. Once you scan the eyeballs using the orb, you receive a portion of the pre-mine, about $30 worth of their shitcoin called WorldCoin. And the person who owns the orb, they added a little MLM scheme into there. The person who owns the orb and scans your eyeballs also gets a portion of the pre-mine. This is a pre-mine shitcoin, so the large venture funds all have, and Sam Altman, the creator of OpenAI, which
Here
is
we're gonna pull up the cap table right now.
all own a huge portion of the supply, and so in the classic shitcoin method, they will presumably dump all of this on retail during any kind of pump they see. They will pump and dump it on retail. This is particularly more dystopian than other shitcoins because it involves this biometric data, this eyeball scanned data. They do say that they do not save the data. It's only so that only one person can register an account. But there is no way to verify that because the orbs are designed to be tamper resistant. So as soon as you open an orb, it should no longer work anymore. So there's no way to verify what data is being stored, what data is being collected. And yeah, they have a ton of big money behind them. Logan pulled it up. We have Coinbase Ventures here. We have Reid Hoffman. We have A16Zs on the list. As I said earlier, SBF is there. Multicoin Capital. Gavin Wood is there. It's like one of the 20 founders of Ethereum. Three Arrows Capital is on the list. Anyway, this is some complete dystopian shit. This and unfortunately, this is just kind of part of the pain that we're going to have to see before people start to realize the need to use freedom-focused alternatives like Bitcoin. And it's just to add to the exhaustion, like another perfect example of just shitcoiners gaslighting us for years so that they could come up with some bullshit quote-unquote solution that they can make a shit ton of money off of. They're advertising WorldCoin as the first solution to the Sybil problem. And the Sybil problem is this idea that if you have an open protocol, anyone can sign up an account, and you don't know if Marty has 20 accounts or 40 accounts or 60 accounts. But the solution to this is proof of work. And Bitcoin has already solved this. There is no way to break that system in Bitcoin. You have to do work in order to receive both the mining reward, the block reward, and the transaction fees. This is verifiable by everyone in the network. But these Silicon Valley guys and other associated rich people decided that is not a solution. And the solution is to trust them and rely on their centralized entity to prove that each person has only scanned their eyeballs once. And as a result, they got their quote unquote fair share of WorldCoin.
Yeah, we talked about it a few weeks ago, but this orb has already been like this method of identity verification has already proven not to work because people are essentially scanning their irises and then selling their identities to others. So the thought that it's going to be this system for a global identity, and it gets really nefarious and like dystopian, like Matt said. Like if you read the launch, so they've had a soft launch going up, like Matt's mentioned in recent months. So they've been scanning irises in Africa, but it was until this week they went with a full bore launch in many cities across the world. Should be noted, in the U.S., you can scan your iris and you will have your global ID, but you're not getting any of the airdrop. So you're just getting your identity sucked into their blockchain.
And that's because in the U.S., scanning your eyeball isn't enough. You also would need to do additional burdensome KYC on top of it, presumably.
Yeah. But yeah, if you read I started a Ben about it last night and wasn't able to finish it. I'll finish it after this episode. But they say, if successful, we believe WorldCoin could drastically increase economic opportunity, scale a reliable solution for distinguishing humans from AI online while preserving privacy, enable global democratic processes. So that particular intent is very nefarious and eventually show a potential path to AI-funded UBI, which I just don't think makes sense. Like, what the fuck is AI-funded UBI? And do we really want to enable a global democratic process? Does democracy scale to a global level? I don't think so.
I mean, that's a nice buzzword, but I think also it means like Sam Altman will control the future of money and identification, and will rent seek while he pays you out a pittance via the WorldCoin system.
Yeah. It's everything terrible with crypto and their surveillance state wrapped up in one.
Everything combined in one horrible project that most people, I think, up until this point, kind of thought it was a joke and wasn't going to happen. I know we've been pretty outspoken about it, but every time I brought it up, people are like, "Oh no, that's not real, right?" Or "That's not going to happen," or "They're not actually going to launch," or "No one would fall for that." Well, millions of people are scanning their eyeballs. Millions more will, potentially billions.
We got to pull up the video.
It's fucked up.
Altman.
It's incredibly fucked up, and this is exactly why Bitcoin exists. This is why the Greater Freedom Tech movement exists, because we can't reason with the oligarchs of today. You can't reason with them. We have to route around them. We have to build tools and systems and just opt out and route around them, because their incentives are set up to try and control us even further.
Yeah, I mean, so we have like Sam Altman celebrating the long line of people waiting in line to scan their irises into the orb. Takes 8 seconds, but go to stop it on the very last frame. I think Skylar, where you can find Skylar. Yeah. Skylar tweeted this out, but yeah, people are literally on their knees succumbing to the orb as they scan their irises.
They didn't even raise it up to human level. They have to get on their knees to do it.
In this particular city, yeah. It's
So is this in America?
I don't know.
These people are still
people are still wearing masks. I assume it's in Asia somewhere. So it's
fucked up.
It is. And then if you go into like, apparently, I mean, I was talking to some Bitcoiners who really don't want to get thrown into the middle of this overarching discussion and the potential theory and be known for being against it. So I won't name them by name, but apparently he's heavily invested. So with OpenAI, he's proclaiming that he doesn't have any ownership, so he's not benefiting from it financially. He's doing it altruistically. But the big theory is that via WorldCoin, he obviously owns a shit ton of that pre-mine, and that's going to be his monetization method. And then at some point,
it's like I create the problem with AI, right?
Yeah.
And now there's bots everywhere, so you have to prove who's not a bot.
Yes.
And then like go into my shitcoin scam, and I'll make money on that.
Yes, you can only interact with OpenAI.
But does he really not have ownership of OpenAI? I just assumed that was
bullshit.
Doesn't he have like companies or something?
Yeah, I imagine there's some sort of like dark equity or shadow equity, excuse me.
Like that's got to be bullshit, right? Like he's definitely making money on that side too.
Yeah. Well, that's like the two things, and then apparently there was a third thing where he's like heavily invested in some new wave nuclear technology, and he's gonna own the whole stack from like the energy production to the GPUs to the AI to the money that allows you to interact with it to prove that you're a human. Apparently, that's his master evil villain plan.
He's definitely evil villain material. If he was in a movie, it would be like, couldn't they be a little bit more creative with it? Like this is just too stereotypical.
Right. People are falling for it though.
Yeah. People have to get burned before they learn it's the unfortunate reality.
I mean, I'm not calling for violence on orbs, but I am looking forward to like the first video that pops up on Twitter where somebody just destroying an orb.
I believe there's a Bitcoin bounty out there for orb destruction.
Is there?
I don't necessarily think, I mean, it's got good meme potential, but I don't think that's necessarily the way. I think the way is just build the tools and education so when people realize it's time to opt out, then we're ready for them, and they will realize the need. People will realize.
Agreed. Beware, freaks. Beware. I would not scan your irises.
Yeah, so that's the orb. We're going to unfortunately have to be talking about it a lot more, I think, going forward.
It's going to be the
Hopefully
Ethereum
we won't
ICO.
have to, but I assume it's going to keep hitting the news.
Like,
We'll cover.
diving into the technical details, this is just an ERC20 token with some.
Do they not have their own chain?
I'm pretty sure it's an ERC20 token.
I think they. Oh, I just assumed they had their own chain, but I haven't looked into that part. Maybe a lot of the shitcoins, what they do first is like for the ICO and stuff, they start with an ERC20 and then they move over.
Yeah.
For the freaks that don't know, an ERC20 token runs on the Ethereum network.
Yeah.
Pablo's saying it's on Polygon or some shit.
Yeah.
A different shitcoin network, but yeah.
Same token scheme. What do we got next? WorldCoin, beware freaks. Avoid it. And Bitcoin development news. I think we mentioned it a couple months ago, but people are a bit worried about Chris Belcher.
Yeah, he went dark for a while. One of our best privacy-focused developers. Recently, he's been working on CoinSwap. He was formerly one of the lead maintainers of Join Market, which is a censorship-resistant, non-centralized coin join protocol. And he recently posted an update to his GitHub, saying that he's had unfortunately, really bad health problems. He attributes it to COVID, and he can't look at his computer or screens for any period of time, and just pretty much put a huge standstill to his work. And it's just horrible to see. I mean, this is a guy who was one of the best, most important contributors in the space. Someone who I have a ton of respect for and a ton of appreciation for everything he's done. I'm super optimistic for the work he does going forward. So, I mean, I hope he can get out of this health concern. I will say that he's a privacy-focused developer. He is always had extremely good operational security. Not like me and Marty being on screen every week. He has not. I don't know if he's done any public speaking appearances, period. And that's a very sensitive, field to work in. So I had assumed the worst when we hadn't heard from him. Well, I had basically either two trajectories in my mind. The one I like to believe, which was that he decided to complete the Satoshi arc and just walk away, which I was like proud and excited for him for that, and was hoping he was contributing under a different NIM. And he just figured the heat was too hot, because I think a lot of us do feel like the heat has been getting a little bit hotter lately. And then the second theory was that maybe something happened to him and he was being coerced or imprisoned or I don't know, even worse than that. I think the first theory, we can throw that out the window now that this post is up. But the second theory, and I've been getting a little bit of pushback on this because people say it's COVID denialism or lack of respect for Chris. But because I have so much respect for Chris is why I'm so skeptical of this post. And for two reasons. This post includes a picture of Chris, which I think is the first publicly posted picture of Chris that has ever hit the internet, which seems extremely odd, particularly since it's almost used as a verification method. Like, look, I actually am sick. This is me laying in bed. And I don't know how useful it can be as a verification mechanism if we have no idea what he looks like. And then second of all, it was not PGP signed. And this is a guy who really believed in PGP signatures and cryptographic verification, really believed in GPG, which is the open alternative that is cross-compatible with PGP. He signed every donation address. He whipped up a script personally on his website that when he received a donation, every donation address was signed by his key. And then we get this update post, and it wasn't signed by his key. So I'm not saying that it's not a valid post. I know some people have been apparently talking to him via different messaging suites, messaging protocols, and have seemed to confirm what he posted in the post. But to me, it just reeks. And I have someone in the Boog saying, Matt, if that's true, why would you be trying to blow up his spot? My concern is that someone is pressuring Chris behind the scenes, and that he did not write that post, and that post is a way for us to stop paying attention to Chris being silent. That is my concern. That is why I'm saying this on air right now. Hopefully that is not true. There's people that are confident that is not true, that think this is a valid post from Chris. But the lack of PGP signature and the inclusion of a photo reeks to me. It just does not add up with his past actions.
It doesn't. And I didn't even think about that. Employing a don't trust, verify strategy to this. And yeah, it's weird. I think the main point that we should get from this is that it's been incredibly discouraging to see that Chris hasn't been able to, or hasn't been contributing to Bitcoin, particularly with what he's focused on, which we're very passionate about here at RHR, which is making it easier to transact privately using Bitcoin. He was on the tip of the spear of building products that really help people attain privacy when using Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a shame no matter how you cut it.
Yeah.
Unless it's like an elaborate walk away scheme, but I just don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, that's my 2 cents. I've gotten a little bit of shit because I mentioned similar on Nostr when the post came up, but I felt like it had to be said. I just, let me put it this way. I'm, for better or for worse, I'm a relatively public figure. If I don't respond to you guys in a year or 6 months or 7 months, and then I post an update that doesn't have a PGP signature, that has a picture of me as verification that I'm posting the update, don't believe it. That's not true. Like, that'd be insane. It would be to me, that would be like Marty, if you're a public figure in Bitcoin, you don't even have, neither of us have the OPSEC that Chris has. If you posted an update after 7 months of not speaking and the verification was like you laying in bed with the picture, I would be immediately questioning that.
Yeah.
And if someone has strong OPSEC, then even less so. And if you want to do a comparison with someone like strong OPSEC, it would be like getting an update from Satoshi, and the verification was a picture of Satoshi, even though we have no idea what Satoshi looks like, and Satoshi has never publicly posted a picture of themselves. Or 6102 Bitcoin, coming out, and the verification is a fucking picture, even though we have no idea who, what they look like. It would just be super sketchy to me, and this is super sketchy to me. So there's that.
I appreciate you sharing that, because it's definitely, some people may see it as uncouth, but I do think it's a valid way to look at this situation.
Well, I mean, I think if you go down the route too, right? Like, that's part of the reason why you would use health as the excuse, because people would feel maybe a little bit ashamed questioning that it's a health issue.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's a perfect use.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason why it's so fucking sketchy to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you're listening to this, I doubt you're listening to this, but if you care, post a PGP signature. If you don't, it doesn't really matter either way. But I mean, it's your life, and if you're sick, like, that fucking sucks. And but yeah.
Beware, freaks. It's not an easy subject to segue away from, but the more optimistic things going on in the Bitcoin development space, the Human Rights Foundation has launched a bounties program So they have the HRF Bitcoin Bounty Challenge. The challenge ends in 523 days, and these are 10 bounties that can be claimed over that time period. And these bounties are essentially projects that activists have expressed to the HRF that they would like to see in the wild. So they got some really cool projects here: serverless payjoin, open sourcing the design guide, and then encrypted Nostr group chats, silent payments, human readable offers, self-custodial mobile lightning address, which would be really cool, mobile border wallets, easy mobile multisig. Is Nunchuck not easy enough?
I said the same thing to Gladstein actually about that. I was like, I think Nunchuck's going to win this one.
Yeah. Frost multisig wallet and Cashew.
I think Nunchuck has to open source the iOS app to qualify.
Okay.
But I am not sure. I like the idea of bounties. We partnered with HRF for some bounties last year, I think, via OpenSats. But this one is an HRF, a fully HRF-led effort. I think bounties are a cool idea to incentivize things that people want to see. They're not perfect. They have their own trade-offs. And it should be interesting to see what comes out of this. But it's a substantial amount of money. 20 Bitcoin is a lot of money. Yeah, I think it'll incentivize a lot of cool things that people will build. But all these pain points, these are very real pain points.
Yeah.
These are pain points I've seen over the years working with activists and helping training them to use Freedom Tech. And yeah, really good to see. I just wanted to comment. I'm like really self-conscious about this because I know like most people disagree with me on the Chris Belcher thing. We have Dan and Konya in the comments saying Odell is wrong. The entire gist, which is like a post on GitHub, stretches over 3 years and it doesn't have any PGP signature. Yeah, okay. So we're just using GitHub accounts as verification. Got it. Seems odd.
I agree. I'll go out there on that limb with you.
So what is it? hrfbounties.org is where you can find the list of bounties.
I'm excited for serverless payjoins. After talking with Dan Gould a few weeks ago, he seems to think they're pretty close. So,
well, like Dan's current, what?
Did you listen to that episode? He had some criticism, or not criticism, but responses to your criticism.
No, I didn't. Dan's great. So he released payjoin dev kit,
PDK,
and I think it still relies on a server, but it's an untrusted server. Is that the idea?
Not the dev kit specifically. I'm pretty sure the dev kit just lets you build whatever, and I think that's what he took to the mailing list earlier this year, was to propose a way to do a serverless payjoin at the time using turn servers. But if I remember correctly from our conversation, he's since adjusted how they're going to do that, the serverless model. But they're experimenting with it with a couple of power users, companies in the space. And I think once they get the testing up and running, they'll be sort of revealing the model for that serverless
because
model.
The key is with payjoin, you have a typical Bitcoin transaction. The sender combines the sender's wallet, puts some inputs in a Bitcoin transaction, and then you have the outputs of the Bitcoin transaction. One output pays the receiver, and one output is change that goes back to the sender if there is change, if they pay over the amount, which is usually the case. With payjoin, the receiver is including inputs on the input side as well, so it breaks a lot of the surveillance heuristics that are used to track Bitcoin on chain. And that process requires interactivity, because if the receiver is going to include an input, then the receiver needs to be online. That has been the major pain point, and the major friction point to adoption, because if you receive a regular Bitcoin payment, you don't need to be online, which is really fucking awesome, particularly in a mobile context where your app might not be awake, it might not be online, it might not be connected. Yeah, so PDK specifically, payjoin dev kit, is to integrate payjoin into as many wallets as possible because that's been another friction point. And then I believe I misspoke when I said it was PDK, but I believe that he was working on something where it was almost like, I mean, not a exact, but it almost like how the trust model is with like a Nostr relay or something, where like you don't have to like have your private keys on a server. You don't have to run the server yourself. Maybe someone else is running the server. But those messages are still transferred between the server just in case the receiver is offline. They can wait for the receiver to come online to do the like that handshake.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like
but I will admit that I haven't looked much into it, and I will also admit that yes,
you've been a payjoin hater. And you can't be a hater and not look into it.
In the Bitcoin privacy space, I'm more payjoin skeptic than a lot of people. I think we've talked about this at length already. But I mean, as someone who wants to see better privacy guarantees on Bitcoin, like I'd love to be proven wrong. That would be fucking awesome.
Yeah. I think the coolest and most exciting thing that I took out of the conversation with Dan is the concept of like a multi-party payjoin, meaning more than two individuals, like including a third party or more in a payjoin, which he seems to think is possible, especially with this serverless model.
Well, see, that part has always been the bullish case for payjoins for me in terms of Lightning channels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not that optimistic that we see significant usage of multi-party payjoins outside of that model. Like I could see it for Lightning channel opens. But like I'm curious, Marty, on like what the real world scenario is where there's like 6 of us making payments to each of us, and we're using payjoin on chain to do that in one big transaction. And I'm not saying people won't do that. I'm just saying payjoin requires, like, the whole idea of payjoin to break that input side heuristic, common input side heuristic, where everyone on the input is all owned by the same person, is you need to have like significant adoption of it. And I just don't think that many people will use that as just like an on-chain payments feature. But I could see them using it to open Lightning channels for cheaper than they would otherwise. And the nice thing about the Lightning channels as a concept is it's not really time sensitive. Regular payments are often time sensitive. If you are managing a Lightning node, I'd be willing to wait 4 days, 5 days for a cheaper, more private channel open. And just like sit in a queue waiting for other participants to come in and join me. But I would not do that for an on-chain payment. And I definitely would, and most payments I could probably just do Lightning and have sender side privacy and have it instantly settle.
Yeah. I forget exactly how Dan explained it would work. I'm not going to try to explain it.
Fair enough.
But I do remember having an aha moment. I'm like, this does sort of make sense. I'm not going to even try because it could be completely wrong.
Yeah, that's fair.
But the idea I was going on was like maybe there's like almost like a CoinJoin liquidity pool people can opt into and put inputs up. But that seems wrong to me. But why do we do this? Why do we care about payjoin? Why are we having this discussion going back and forth? It's because, if we're being honest with ourselves, with you freaks, it's that Bitcoin's privacy assurances are subpar as is, and we're always looking to improve them so that we can get ourselves away from companies like Chainalysis, which has come out this week, and the head of Chainalysis investigations has admitted that there's no scientific evidence proving their surveillance software actually works. Elizabeth Bisbee, head of investigations at Chainalysis Government Solutions, testified that she was unaware of scientific evidence for the accuracy of Chainalysis. Is that how you say it? Chainalysis?
Chainalysis is, yeah.
Yeah, it's a mouthful. Reactor software. used by law enforcement.
So this is part of the Roman Sterligov case, the Bitcoiner that is being accused of running the Bitcoin Fog Bitcoin mixer. I had his lawyers on Civil Dispatch to talk about the case. They also spoke in the open source stage of Bitcoin 2022. And this has been a key aspect of their defense, is basically going after chain surveillance as this new evidence tool used in court cases. And it was actually kind of interesting. They do have a lot of precedent in terms of like hair follicle analysis and all these like crazy different niche industries that tried to, basically build a little regulatory moat around themselves and be admissible in court, and that got denied throughout the years. It's easy to like think back now and be like, oh, like DNA is admissible in court, but there was a bunch of other different techniques that were mostly bullshit that attempted to get admitted in court because there was a lot of money to be made if they were approved, and courts have thrown them out in the past. And that's kind of their angle, hoping that it gets it sets a precedent where just in general in U.S. courts it can't be used. I am not that optimistic on that front. That would be fucking awesome. We can't operate under that assumption that it won't be used against us. But it is definitely true that a lot of their work is, well, first of all their work is closed in black box, and we can't see any of the work on how it works. They don't even give people access to the software, including the defense attorneys, which is insane.
Well, and this brings up a good point, because you can make the argument that they could actually never have scientific evidence that it's accurate if they don't allow others to inspect it and like prove that it's actually scientific.
My point is like it was important for Roman's lawyers for them to say this out loud, but it's Chainalysis' belief and the other surveillance companies that they don't actually need that peer-reviewed evidence in order to be admissible in court, and that's basically their argument. So this is like a nice one-liner that has been picked up from it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that Chainalysis does get thrown out of courts in the future. It was just kind of a stepping stone that the lawyers were using. The thing with chain surveillance is it's all a probability guessing game. And while they can successfully track certain people, and it's important to realize that you can be tracked. It's not like they're completely full of shit. There's a lot of false positives, and it's really easy to frame someone. It's incredibly easy to frame someone. In this Bitcoin Fog case specifically, pretty much any Bitcoin Fog user could have been accused, like Roman, of using the custodial mixer. Because what do they have? They have him sending Bitcoin into the mixer, and they have him sending Bitcoin out of the mixer, which is how users interact with a custodial mixer. You send Bitcoin in, you get other Bitcoin out. So that's what makes it incredibly dangerous, and the fact that they have lots of money behind them, and they're taking advantage of our corrupt institutions to kind of ingrain themselves, make it extra dangerous. But the true answer is to build tools that just completely obsolete everything they have, not just make it, quasi right, make it completely wrong. Because whether or not it's admissible in court, whether or not all this other stuff, you have to imagine malicious actors will be using these tools to track people. You have to imagine they'll be using them against Bitcoiners. And the only safe assumption is to build tools that completely obsolete them.
Yeah.
I just wanted, on that note, just on the HRF bounties, one of the bounties I did want to call out, which I think is really important, and I think it's kind of cool that there's some clear Nostr overlap on the bounties, is this idea of an easy self-custody mobile Lightning addresses. And this is something that's like, it's really easy to conceptualize in practice, and especially when you're onboarding someone on a Nostr and they need a Lightning address. It's right now there's no self-custody way of doing it on mobile. This is why a lot of people end up using Wallet of Satoshi. A lot of people use Alby. They end up in custodial solutions. Some people use Strike. People use Zebedee. These are all custodians, and it's because the way LNURL works, you have to have this web server on. It's interactive, just like we were talking about with payjoin. So this is a real pain point, and I think it's kind of cool. Like it should be interesting to see what comes out of this, because it's a very broad bounty request. It's 2 Bitcoin for an easy self-custody Lightning address on mobile. It's very easy to conceptualize why that is a problem and why we need that. It's very hard to conceptualize what the solution is, and I'm kind of curious, what comes out of it. But it's something that needs a lot more focus, and I think that's where bounties really shine. Is like, look, this thing needs more focus. There's 2 Bitcoin up for grabs if you focus on it, and let's move forward. Let's push forward.
I feel like you need something like Blockstream Greenlight for mobile.
Well, Greenlight is useful for sending, but not for receiving. Mm-hmm. Greenlight helps, and the Breeze SDK that's built on top of that are very helpful for sending, but not receiving. This is an issue that Lightning in general has had issues with.
Do you need a sign to create an invoice?
Receiving needs to be interactive. You cannot receive if you're offline, period, on Lightning.
Yeah, but you can keep the node online in the cloud. Does the private key need to be hot at all times?
Yes. Okay. Because you need a sign every time your channel state changes.
Mm-hmm. And so if you're creating an invoice,
every time you receive sats, you have to sign.
Yeah.
Every time you route sats, you have to sign. So keys have to be hot, and they have to be online. And in the donation side,
Pablo's saying you can receive on Greenlight. It just holds the invoice in the last hop before routing to the signer. Greenlight holds the HTLC until the signer comes back. That makes sense. Then you put on the app, and then it signs, and you receive the sats. Then that locks up a lot of channel liquidity along the way, right?
I didn't know you could do that on Greenlight, for starters. So I'll look more into that. So Pablo's saying it sends a push notification to the signer and hopes for the best. Because I think that times out pretty quickly. So maybe that's like if you can get online within an hour, or maybe even less than that. But yeah, that comes with its own trade-offs. I don't know. There'll be a bunch of different ways that people do this. But just to go back, this is something we talked about during the Canadian trucker protest, right? Which is like, it's bigger than Nostr. This idea that someone can easily post a ideally human readable, but just something static text or QR code that they can post on Nostr or Twitter or wherever, and they can receive donations from anyone in the world relatively privately, ideally from mobile, so that they don't have to run anything else, is something that is sorely needed. We have, and I saw this right before we went live, but we have Satoshi Corner saying how PayPal shut down Graphene OS's donation account. Like, it's the ideal use case. It's one of the ideal low-hanging fruit use cases for Bitcoin, which is receiving donations around the world without permission. And we've seen WikiLeaks already do it. We've seen the opposition party in Russia do it, in these very high censorship concern situations, be able to receive Bitcoin donations. And you can do that with just a Bitcoin address, but you can't do it in a privacy preserving way. Lightning offers promise there, but it's very difficult to do self-custody Lightning receives on mobile without different trust trade-offs being made. And this is what gets really interesting, and I wish HRF the best of luck. Their bounties are a little bit vague. The wording leaves them a lot of room to make unilateral decisions, and they're going to have to judge what gets solved and what doesn't, and who deserves a bounty and who doesn't deserve a bounty. And it's really fucking messy. And I don't wish that on anybody, but it does give them some flexibility in how they award these more big picture bounties. But there's likely to be a bunch of different skews in between. Like, what is self-custody? Is interest, like on-chain Bitcoin, it's relatively easy to decide to determine a wallet is self-custody. You hold the keys yourself. Those keys never leave your device. As a result, It is incredibly difficult to rug you. Maybe a malicious software update or something does that. But on the easy to use mobile Lightning implementations we see today, something like Phoenix Wallet or Breeze Wallet, they are self-custody. I mean, I would define them as self-custody, but there's still trust in the operator. There's some trust in the operator. You can be rugged in different situations. You're definitely trusting them with your privacy in a lot of situations. And I think there's room for all these different options, but the trade-offs have to be clear. So like, what is self-custody mobile Lightning with LN URL support? Who knows? Like maybe that has a trust profile that is more trusted. It will most likely have a trust profile that is more trusted than self-custody on chain. And it becomes very difficult to talk about these things, and because there's so much nuance there. And it's really important that the actual creators of these tools are very clear in their documentation. Like that's something Phoenix has done really well. Like if you go to Phoenix's website, they have a whole FAQ page that just in plain English, like these are the trade-offs. Like this is how you're trusting us.
Is Zeus's recent update getting them closer to this? Or the possibility for enabling this?
Yeah, so like with Zeus, like Zeus's recent update lets you use it without connecting to your own node, right? Historically, you've had to connect to your own node. So basically when you open the wallet, you have like an option like create new wallet or connect to existing node. And if you click create new wallet, it's more similar to like the Phoenixes and the Breezes and the Mutiny wallets, right? Where they handle channel management for you. They open channels to you. So you have inbound and you can receive, and they handle all that for you. And like that. So like is Zeus with your own node, but there's still trust in Zeus. Zeus is the LSP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. And so like if you compare that trust model, which is quote unquote self-custody Lightning on mobile, to Zeus's remote node connection model, which is also self-custody.
Well,
that has the remote node model has way less trust required.
But they've separated the keys from the node management, right? Like so you still at the end of the day do have like they can't take your funds, can they? No.
I mean, who's watching the channel for a bad channel state?
They could add Watchtower.
Like the whole point of Lightning is you can enter a 2 of 2 multi-sig payment channel with a channel peer, and you don't have to trust them. Because if the way the incentives are set up, if they try and cheat you out of your money, you can publish an old state. You can publish a justice transaction and take their money.
Would that just require like bringing a Watchtower into the mix?
Who's running the Watchtower, Marty?
Hopefully a party other than the wallet provider. Like that would be like the thing I would imagine is like in the wallet services is like, all right, do you want a Watchtower? And then you get like a menu of Watchtowers.
I mean, you can also a lot of these wallets right now, like they're a single LSP model only, but you can also have multiple LSPs that help the trust situation. But the point is you're still at a different level in that like trust gradient.
Yeah, what's good enough? Like what trade-off is?
And like talking about it becomes extremely confusing and difficult. It's not just self-custody versus custodial. There's a bunch of different shades in the middle that happen because your phone's not online. Your node, the way Lightning's trust model works is your Lightning node is supposed to always be online, making sure you're not getting cheated. And if your Lightning node goes offline, you want to have a Watchtower online. Yeah. But something's supposed to be online at any given time. Yeah. And on mobile, we think we're online all the time because the device, has reception or whatever. But all the apps aren't running, because if the apps were running, it would kill your battery. So all the Apple and stock Android and stuff, they're all killing all these apps in the background. They're not actually running even though your phone's online.
Do you think there's potential for like battery upgrades in the future where they don't have to do that? And makes sense.
I think it could be, there's something to be said about, the thing is you can get these services that are like running 24/7 on the phone that aren't killing that much battery life. The problem is that Apple and Google, for the, 90% of handsets that are sold that are just completely stock, they just don't let you run those things in the background. So it's like not even an optimization thing. It's just like, you have these.
Why wouldn't they allow that? You think they'd want the phone to depreciate faster so that somebody has to go buy a new one?
The majority of people are using phones that are in complete walled gardens, and they rely on them as their main computer. So, I mean, you see this when we talk to different founders and different teams working on projects in the space. Like, so many of the decisions they make are based on
what they can do within the walled gardens.
Exactly, and the strategies of interacting with those walled gardens, right?
Yeah. Very interesting problems. We're not going to solve them here today, but it's good to be aware of them, freaks. Be aware. What do we have up next? Shout out to the HRF. LNDK developer Alyssa Hertig receives a Spiral grant. This is great to see.
Love to see it. Keep the grants flowing.
From as many. Alyssa got onto the development side of things.
Yeah, I remember her from the New York days.
Wasn't she working at CoinDesk for a while?
I don't know.
I could be wrong there. Shout out to Alyssa. Congrats on the grant. Shout out to Spiral for giving the grant out. This is weird. The FBI seized a Mastadon server. Who's the EFF, I believe, brought this up, but if you look into it, it was the Clovectiva.social, and the FBI apparently caught the dude who was maintaining the server as he was upgrading it, so all the messages on the server were unencrypted, and most users who were using the server were unaware. It happened in May. And so the FBI has all those unencrypted messages that many Mastodon users or the users of that server thought were encrypted at the time.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's two takeaways here. It's always someone's running a server that other people are storing content on. You're always at increased liability. There's been countless examples of that. And then the second key takeaway here, I think, and this is part of the reason why, like, high load servers, like something like Mastodon, you pretty much have to run it through ClearNet. You have no choice. It's easy to determine where the server is. This is part of the reason why it's important that it's easy to run Bitcoin node through Tor or I2P or one of these more private networks that are on top of the internet. But because you don't want people to know where every Bitcoin node is located. But this is a different threat model. This is a threat model where you're holding media and text and all this other shit for a bunch of other people. Some of it might be illegal, and you're more likely to have it seized. And then the second key takeaway is this is what is very unique compared to Mastodon. When you compare Mastodon and the greater Fediverse and how it was built out versus something like Nostr. Because the way Mastodon was built out, it's like, yeah, anyone can run their own server. And why do I bring it up? Because they're often compared, because Mastodon is got its own, it's its own open, like Twitter-like competitor. Users are beholden to the server the instance that they are a part of. They can interact with other instances and people across instances. But if that server closes down, or if they get banned from that server, or all this other stuff, they have to start completely fresh on a brand new server somewhere else. They're completely beholden to that server. On Nostr, you don't have that situation. You do have relays, but you can use multiple relays. And no matter what, your network graph, who follows you and who you follow, is independent of that. And that's fundamentally different than the way Mastodon was architected. It was like that is the key problem that needed to be solved, which is this idea that if I get censored from a server, or if I get censored from an app, I can just take my credentials and move somewhere else and be no worse for wear. And that's not the case in Mastodon. If one of these big Mastodon servers gets taken down, a lot of users get affected, and they have to start fresh somewhere else.
Yeah. Big difference. In Mastodon, the people who run that are like, I'm pretty sure they blacklisted the no agenda guys at some point. I think there's some weird, what's the word I'm looking for? There's some weird like curation and moderation.
Well, no. So
you can always spin up your own server, but like
each instance
blacklist people from their
whoever
server.
runs the server. Yeah, this is another example of how you're beholden to a server. It can blacklist other instances and not communicate with them. That happened with the Bitcoiner instance that NVK had. I think that got blacklisted. It happened to Trump's instance, like Truth Social. My understanding is it's essentially just a fork of Mastodon. It's like a Mastodon fork with their branding on it. They got completely cut off from the greater Mastodon network. You're beholden to these different actors that are not fully centralized, but they wield a large amount of power, and Nostr fixes that. You don't have that issue with Nostr. I will say one caveat, just in case there's a Mastodon maxi in the comments trying to keep me honest. You can bring over, like if you start fresh on another server, you can easily import who you're following, just not who's following you. Which I mean, so you're still starting fresh, but at least you can see other people's posts.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a complete. That project is maybe it started for good reasons, and I appreciate every open source project that exists, regardless if I think it's useful or not. But I don't really see any future there, and there's no competition between it and Nostr. Like Nostr just fucking blows it away, no matter how you look at it. And I think that'll be very obvious in hindsight as well.
Yeah. I tried Mastodon out for a few months. This is too complicated. Moving on.
Yeah, I mean, you were just beholden to whoever's running your fucking server. It didn't solve anything. It was just like there could be many Elon Musks instead of one.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is why we go full bore into Nostr. We got the software updates coming on. We're going to go to Boost from Rabbit Hole Recap 262, Palindrome, RIP, CBDC precursor, FedNow launches. We didn't even talk about FedNow last week. I realized that after we've recorded.
I know. I realized we put it in the title and we didn't discuss it at all.
We didn't talk about it. FedNow launch freaks.
I realized that afterwards too.
Yeah. Top boost from this RIP, which we didn't talk about. We didn't talk about what was in the title. At Bitcoin rocks, 69,420 sats. Nice. Not your keys, not your coins. This is true. At Sphainol, 55,555 sats. Palindrome boost 5 across the board. Mandibles. Haven't heard that in a few weeks.
Drink.
At Eric99, 50,000 sats. Stay humble, stack sats.
Great advice.
And at BTC Principal, I'm glad Marty Jones is now locked in a cage. We like optimistic Marty, aka Marty Hope. Stay peace and love and stack. Top 4 boost of last week. Thank you, freaks. Hey, Marty Jones may be in the cage, but he comes out every once in a while.
Marty Jones is compromised. He's got the blue check. He complied with the check.
I got the Marty Jones fan club on. All right. Now that I got the hat on, we can get into it. All right. This alien stuff, it's a psyop. It really is, though. I'm calling psyop on the alien stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, that seems pretty obvious. We need better psyops.
Yeah, you got Hunter Biden plea deal getting reneged. We'll see what happens there. Still not holding my breath on that. SBF, that's pretty relevant news. Seems like he's not going to have to give, or the politicians who took donations that SBF gave.
Yeah, I mean, that's the least surprising thing ever.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a CIA asset. And you,
yeah.
Remember when you said like I was? I mean, you were disappointed that I was putting that theory out there when I originally put it out there.
You have no fucking proof that he's a CIA.
Put $1 in the Marty Jones was right jar, please.
No bullshit. You don't get credit.
I mean, it's blatantly obvious. Like,
doesn't logically follow? Look, the guy donated a shit ton of fucking money to corrupt politicians, and then the charge that that broke campaign finance laws was dropped. Like that, you don't have to be a CIA fucking asset to do that.
Yes, you do. You funnel the money to the corrupt political party that you have full control over.
That's how evidence-based reasoning works.
While at the same time, completely besmirching the reputation of an industry that is going to.
Well, anyway, Elon's a CIA asset, and you verified your identity on his platform. So
I agree with that.
Sucks to suck.
Fifth column. I got some news on that next week. Got some fifth column news. There's some trouble in the fifth column.
I think if you're going to talk about being a CIA asset, I think launching rockets into space is a lot stronger evidence than buying off corrupt politicians.
Both can be true. You get the cooler.
Yeah, I got my Pelican cooler. I need another beer.
I like the Pelican Bitcoin Park partnership. It's a good one.
It's a very strong partnership. You also see we got
I didn't get a hardware wallet case.
High quality Joe Rogan mic stand.
Finally. Last one was gimpy.
Who's the one you have right now?
Yeah, but it was like
you didn't get the
Logan, how bad was that mic problem?
Didn't work.
What are you grabbing?
You didn't get one of these?
No, save one for me. I need to get one next time I come.
Okay, we got you.
Right.
It holds a cold card.
I know.
Perfect size for a cold card.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, SBF getting off on those charges is like the least surprising thing ever. I don't think that
because he's a CIA asset. They're not going to let their own asset go to jail. Like, there was speaking of that, like people were posting the video of him like towards the end when it wasn't really clear that they were running an overt Ponzi. They were still treating him like a legitimate, upstanding citizen and wonderkind on a CNBC interview. And it was like when he was really pale, his hair was crazy. He was like literally shaking the whole time, like as he's like listening to them. It's like, how the fuck did nobody know when this interview was going on? We live in a crazy world, freaks. Clown world.
Did you watch any of the alien hearing?
No, God, no. Matthew Pines, I know you're out there. I know you're listening. You're too caught up in the alien psyop. It's too perfect. Some good, like, why, if you're an alien, would you, like, we have autonomous drones here on planet Earth. Speaking in the context of relative intelligence from humans to aliens, you would expect if they can travel between galaxies, planets, solar systems, whatever it may be, like they're more intelligent than us. And why would they actually get in the vehicles and fly when you can autonomously just send a machine here to scope things out? And then if you are that intelligent to actually get here, what are the chances that you would like crash land on a government property?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I necessarily follow that logic, but it's just the whole thing reeks in terms of just when they decided they wanted to announce that aliens are real and that they did it with like they had like a congressional hearing or whatever, and they used the most vague terms ever. They're like, we've secured an alien craft. There was like biological material in it. It's like,
what is it, like unidentified amorphous?
Yeah.
What is it, UAP? Amorphous. What's the P stand for, Logan?
If it's hiding, if it's distracting from something,
unidentified aerial phenomena.
No, they changed. It's like amorphous something.
They're probably distracting us from something that and when I say they, I mean the Bluechecks. They're probably distracting us from something that we're not even paying attention to. Not any of the things you listed.
There's probably a couple of things I listed. Definitely the Biden thing.
Maybe the Biden.
Another thing that happened yesterday really went under the radar. Pac West officially went under.
Yeah, maybe that. Maybe Ukraine.
Yeah.
Maybe Elon purifying the world, authenticating all humans.
The orb.
Maybe WorldCoin. Let's
take some heat off the orb. Release the aliens.
And to be clear, aliens might exist. I'm not an alien disbeliever.
Neither am I. I mean,
I just think this particular release is psyop.
Why now? Why in this fashion?
I honestly, at this point, like, At this point, like, I'm not going to believe that aliens exist until like they show up on my property and I have a shotgun in my hand. Like, they could like go on fucking TV, be like, "We're warning you, the alien invasion's coming." I'd just be like, I don't
care. Bring them. If they're here, they're here.
This
Let's
sounds
go.
like some straight up bullshit. I don't believe it.
I'm not giving up my freedoms.
That was when I would believe them. It's really that's fucked up. But it's
What's
true.
that box behind you?
Logan, stop trying to get like BTC. No, I'm kidding. BTC pins.
He's simping BTC pins.
Some anonymous freak sent us a bunch of blue check pins.
Are you gonna wear your blue check
in a box? No, I left it at my house. None of these are my blue check. My blue check is at my house, and these blue checks to verify all members of the Bitcoin Commons. It is actually pretty cool. We've got this is Bitcoin Commons verification, not Twitter. But if you can see, I don't know if camera, that's BC Bitcoin Commons there. So
you're doing eyeball scans for it?
No, just like my eyeball scanning the person. Like, do you work here? Like, yeah, you do. Here's a pin. I'll get back to work.
It's fitting you have them in a box because Elon's been listening and just recently released a feature that anyone who verified their identity can hide their blue check and hide their collaboration and hide themselves from that shame. So it makes sense that you have the blue checks in a box behind you.
Yeah. In all seriousness, now going back to the UFOs, the aliens. Very reminiscent of the coincidental timing of COVID. And we went into lockdowns and they printed $4 trillion. Like, aliens come. And they're like, we need to fund Space Force. So we actually have to print 15
Did they
trillion
ask to fund Space Force? Is that part of it?
I mean, I think that's what's coming. That's what I would imagine comes down the line.
All right, that was just like a basic distraction technique, but that also adds up. Makes sense.
Yeah. PacWest is going under. All right, aliens. We need to print money to fight the aliens. It's really tough.
Is PacWest officially done?
Yeah, they got acquired at a discount too, which is
That's how they love that model. Who acquired them?
I don't know. Let's check.
It's like there's no such thing as a failed bake when you just like do an orchestrated deal behind the scenes for pennies on the dollar and just keep consolidating them. Banks don't fail, they just get acquired.
JP Morgan to buy $2 billion of mortgages in PacWest deal. So I guess they got chopped up in multiple pieces. Bank of California, BANC, to buy PacWest, an all-stock deal. Then I guess they chopped up some of the debt assets to other banks. Another one by Sadus. That went really under the radar. I haven't seen many people talking about this.
Yeah, too busy talking about aliens. People have already forgot about the last set of bank runs.
Right.
I still think more are coming.
That's what I think. Actually, PacWest failing is a validation of the theory I was putting out a couple months ago, which is Q2 ended end of last month, and that PacWest released financials for Q2 like this week, and then they went under. So I think that's what we're about to see more of is as these financials come out.
A lot of dead bodies hiding in the closet with the Bluechecks.
Yeah. What do we have next? Software updates. Marty Jones is out of the cage. He's got a lot of theories, but what I'm about to mention isn't theoretical. It's out there. It's software that you can download. Clams version 1.8.0 has been released. Clams. It's free and open source browser interface for securely and remotely controlling your core Lightning node. They've got channel management updates in this one.
I don't know why they call it clams. That's like an OG shitcoin. Like, I just get triggered.
That's a Dan Larimer one, isn't it? Is it?
I don't know. He had a lot.
Oh, I'm typing this.
Doesn't matter. This is unrelated to shitcoins.
It is. It's related to Lightning. Zeus version 0.7.7 beta is available for testing. Maybe I'll test this one out. Next Bitcoin version 0.0.95 has been released. Electric's version 0.10.0 has been released. Seeing, it seems like a major upgrade. Seeing if there's anything to talk about. Not really. Electric is a Rust implementation of Electrum servers. LDK version 0.0.116 has been released, anchoring the roadmap. Don't know what that means.
Well, they previously released their roadmap, so presumably this is the setup for it.
Yeah. Mempool.space updates. It's got full RBF, P to PK outputs, and more. Pay to public key. What? Isn't that old? Why are they just adding P to PK?
I don't know what it's referring to. The RBF stuff is cool though. They like added they've enhanced their already existing RBF replaced by fee visualization tool, and it tracks RBFs much better now, which I thought was pretty awesome.
Yeah. P to PK. They're saying we now display and index P to PK outputs using their public keys. Here's the first Bitcoin transaction from Satoshi to Hal Finney. That's why I was a bit perplexed, because P to PK is like the oldest.
Yeah, it's the legacy address format.
Yeah.
Just raw public keys.
Yeah.
Which we're clearly already on mempool.space. They're just showing them differently.
Yeah. That's why I was confused. That's why I was slow to respond there. Mutiny Wallet version 0.4.
That team just keeps shipping. It's impressive.
Yeah. Mutiny Wallet version 0.4.4 has been released. Android version is available for testing now. Check
Massive.
it out.
There goes all the haters that don't like that it's a web app. You can download the local Android app now.
It's out. They ship fast. They don't take their shirts off either. There's a Bitcoin Design Club last night. Ben and Paul were wearing their Mutiny shirts. They wear it every day. It's really, I mean,
Rumors they don't shower.
I know Ben definitely doesn't. Paul looks somewhat polished. I think Tony's got one a week in him at least. I kid. I'm kidding, guys.
Those Mutiny shirts are fucking dope, though.
They are.
It makes sense that they'd keep wearing them.
You can go find those at lightning.store, I believe. Breeze SDK Core version 0.1.4 has been released. BTC Pay Server version 1.11.0 has been released. They got a POS cart, point of sale cart redesign, payment sounds. I like that, and more. Cashew Nutshell version 0.13.0 eCash seed phrase backups have been added. That's pretty cool to see. Mostro version 0.7.8 has been released. What is Mostro? P2P exchange system, open source, written in Rust.
Yep.
Boom.
It uses Nostr. It's a project that aims to give a P2P exchange using Nostr and Bitcoin.
Hell yeah. Iris desktop app version 0.2.0 has been released.
I listed them out, so the Bitcoin updates were first, and then Mostro is
Nostr.
a combination Bitcoin Nostr, and now we're in the Nostr updates.
We talked about this in the beginning of the show, but bears repeating. Nostr data vending machine, a marketplace for data processing, was released by our friend Pablo. And he open sourced it.
Yeah, of course.
And again, it's really cool. Watch the demo. It's really cool, taking this video and then having bots basically bid against each other to produce a transcript of the video. It's
and then
crazy.
he created one bot that just checks what the pricing is of the other bots and just undercuts by 5% every time.
Yeah. And then
It's so fucking awesome.
Well, then it will ask the other bots to do the work too, won't it? Like,
Yeah. There's like all these different clever, it's a brave new world out there.
Pablo's saying it's an MIT license, open source.
Yeah, it's the most open standard license.
Yes.
No restrictions. Love to see it.
Amethyst version 0.71.0 has been released. GeoHash. Is that just what they're calling this upgrade? GeoHash.
I think that's what they're calling it. Amethyst is the most used Android client. By the way, I don't have the update on the list because it dropped right before we went live. But Primal just released an updated Android app as well.
Oh yeah,
and I think an updated iPhone app too.
Yeah, that dropped yesterday.
Primal.net/downloads.
Check it out. More. There's so much going on in Nostr. Arcade version 0.3.2 beta has been released. They have the AI chat and performance upgrades. I'm really excited to see what their group chat looks like and the marketplace that they get out there. So the app is now stable enough that they feel confident releasing this to the Play Store beta program, which they're going to do this week. So you should be able to get that on your Google devices soon. I'm really excited to see the Arcade project get out there. You can go check this out at, what is the website? api.arcade.chat. What do we got here? Swarmster, Nostr Knowledge Hub for Curious Minds. I haven't seen this yet. What's going on here? So much going on.
This looks like a Stack Exchange competitor. It's what I mentioned earlier. Like I said, I think the low-hanging fruit for Nostr is essentially open competitors for every single type of social media under the sun. Reddit, Instagram, Twitter, in this case, Stack Exchange. You ask a question, it gets answered. Questions get ranked. Answers get ranked.
We're doing it, freaks. We're building the distributed, open future that we want. It's crazy, like the combination. We always thought Bitcoin was like the one missing piece, but it feels like Nostr is really adding some fuel to the fire, some jet fuel, to being able to empower individuals with these tools.
Yeah, it's just so cool how you can build on it so easily. There's so many different implications to it. And it just integrates so well with Bitcoin.
Simplex chat version 5.2.0 has been released.
Oh, I have Pablo in the comments saying anything with the social graph is going to get wrecked. That was the words I kept looking for. Social graph. Simplex is great too.
Yeah, it's a distributed chat protocol. You don't need phone numbers or emails.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
It even you can set it so it just gives you a burner identity every time you start a new chat. So not only does you don't even need a username. So no phone number, no email, no username, which is very novel. You can run your own server. And there isn't much trust in the servers either. Everything's blinded.
No, there is not.
Pretty fucking cool. The combination of people think like Simplex is the signal killer. I think they're very complementary to each other, actually.
I am not equipped to comment. I haven't tried Simplex out yet.
I mean, the pro and con of Signal is that it's just really easy for people to communicate with because it uses phone numbers as the identification. And it's just very performant and fast and smooth. And you have emoji reactions and you can post GIFs and you can do all the different things that you'd like to do with a messaging app. And then Simplex is, cares more about on the trade-off balance is like way more on the privacy side than it's on the and security side than it's on the convenience side. So I think they're very complementary. And like there's been multiple people that I've like started my Simplex chat because I replied to someone. through Signal. It's like how we transferred the initial invitation message.
Yeah, I got to try out Simplex. It's on my list. There's a lot
And
going
yes,
on there. So much to do.
I agree the name is horrible, but the project lead is not changing it. He feels very strongly about the name.
To each his own, you know. That's it for software updates. Shout out to all the open source contributors, the people building companies, really pushing things forward. That was a big list this week. There's a lot getting built. It's great to see. Building happens in the bear market. We'll get cliche here. Then we'll get bullish because TDAmeritrade is calling for $800,000 Bitcoin. This is actually pretty bearish.
Yeah, they think that's high.
They think that's like the cap. A bullish view is warranted in our opinion because we believe Bitcoin could ultimately represent a superior store of value relative to all other forms of money, whether fiat, metal-based, or digital. Was this ghostwritten by you?
No. Also, Gladstein never posted a link to it, so I had to post the link to his Twitter. So he could just be full of shit. Maybe it doesn't even exist. Couldn't find a link to it.
Maybe it's a private, only for TDAmeritrade clients.
Also, does TDAmeritrade even exist anymore? Didn't they get bought by Charles Schwab?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I put it on there because it's bullish.
Yeah.
Gotta love when a established financial outlet makes an $800K price call, it makes $200K by conference day. I feel a little bit better. So I posted it there mostly out of cope.
Yeah, then we follow this up with.
This is straight up VJ's chart that they just reformatted.
Yeah, with different colors.
But look at all the A's that Bitcoin has. Fiat's just like all C's.
And like if you look at that chart too, like nothing fucking lines up.
It's such a bad chart.
I was reading it, like I saw that tweet. I was like, this is not aligned at all.
Logan, click VJ's in the bottom right. You see it there? Go to the chart. Yeah.
It's the same exact thing.
They just fucking reformatted it horribly.
They're not sending their best at the fiat financial institutions.
Oh, so they didn't. Oh, they still even gave the F. It's the exact same. It's exactly the same rating.
VJ should sue for copyright infringement. Kidding.
You kind of love to see it.
Yeah, I was skeptical about whether this paper was real or not.
What, the BlackRock paper?
Yeah, but it looked like it's an official paper.
I put it here because we're talking about it and because BlackRock is on the verge of just pumping her bags, I'm pretty sure. But it's important to realize, well, so first of all, the BlackRock paper essentially says that, and this is a BlackRock research paper that was syndicated to like family offices and investment advisors. And it says that people that are holding 80% stocks and 20% bonds, the classic portfolio, if you are willing to take risk and you want to grow your portfolio, it's usually advocated for young people, should instead hold essentially 85% Bitcoin and I guess 15% bonds and no stock. It's important to realize this paper was all over socials the last 2 days. It was released in 2022. It was released a year ago. And of course, no one made that clear when they were posting all the juicy engagement posts. So that's important to keep in mind. But I don't know if that necessarily invalidates basically the simple premise, which is BlackRock is signaling to the world that they're going to get involved in Bitcoin in a big way. They have a strong incentive to try and increase adoption, increase the purchasing power of Bitcoin, the price of Bitcoin. And they're probably going to do it. They're the largest fund manager in the world. And don't let them have your Bitcoin.
No, do not. Again,
BlackRock can go fuck themselves.
If there's any, I said this on the last trade last week or 2 weeks ago. I think it bears repeating. If there's anybody that's new to Rabbit Hole Recap and you're in the TradFi world and you're coming to the show to learn, is this tech legit? Should I get exposure? I think everything we talk about here particularly highlights that Bitcoin as a medium of exchange has inherent utility, like what we're doing with Nostr, what we're doing with AI. And you should note, like, if you don't have exposure to Bitcoin, if you don't own Bitcoin yet, and you're like evaluating how you're going to get into Bitcoin, like, again, like, we don't believe that you should get into BlackRock for many reasons. Custodial, it's run by BlackRock. It'll be like custody at Coinbase at the end of the day. But like, most importantly is like, all right, maybe you do have the mentality that you just want to use Bitcoin as a savings vehicle. It's like too technologically, like the learning curve's too steep for you at this current point in time. You'd rather just buy and hold. You're thinking maybe like an ETF is the best way to do that. But I think a lot of the things like we've talked about during this episode and every episode that we record really highlight that Bitcoin has inherent utility and fundamental value that really forces you to actually use it, to transact with it at different layers of the stack. So even though you may not be comfortable doing those things today, you should run with the assumption that it'll get significantly easier to do those things in the future. And the decision you make today in regards to how you actually get exposure to Bitcoin will be extremely important to being able to utilize that utility and that functionality in the future. So if you get in via BlackRock ETF today, you're not going to be able to do those things. You're going to have to sell your ETF shares, pay the cap gains tax, and then buy Bitcoin to do that stuff. So this is like a very...
They even allow you to do that.
Yeah.
And then they don't rug you before that.
Yeah. So maybe new to Bitcoin, maybe think about this, I want exposure, like I'm going to do GBTC, BlackRock. Like, no, like get exposure, ideally getting it directly via mining, no KYC fashion. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Most people are going to go to an exchange. Even more people are going to go to BlackRock, but like understand like getting exposure to Bitcoin via an ETF like BlackRock.
Use Bitcoin as freedom money. Don't use Bitcoin as fucking cuck dollars.
Yeah, but there's many like that. The point I'm trying to make is there's many people that are going to be like, oh, it's just like this investment that goes up, and they're going to want to utilize the utility in the future when it's much easier and it's much more apparent what you can do with Bitcoin. And a lot of people are going to get rugged either via taxes or just simply rugged by not doing Bitcoin the right way. That was my little soapbox.
So was that just, it was like long-winded, like if you buy the big BlackRock ETF, you're going to be upset later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
But that's one of the, most people have been framing it like it's going to be custody to Coinbase. You're not going to be, but I think we should really begin to lean into like the stuff that Lightning's enabling, the stuff that Nostr's enabling, the stuff that Fedimints will enable.
That doesn't hit. Look, if you buy BlackRock, you're going to get rugged. Don't get rugged.
Yeah.
I feel like that hits way harder than like, oh, this Bitcoin will have additional utility in the future.
I think it's
become unruggable.
Get under the rug, freaks. Do that by putting your Bitcoin in self-custody. Something not on the list that broke while we were recording. Pull it up, Logan. Graphene got their PayPal permanently locked.
Yeah, I brought that up earlier.
You did?
Yeah, it wasn't on the list, but
you brought it up.
Well, we were talking about mobile self-custody Lightning addresses. Like Graphene's an interesting example because Graphene uses a fixed static
PayPal address.
Well, no, they have the PayPal address, and obviously that is centralized and easy to censor. Their Bitcoin donations is done through a single on-chain Bitcoin address that is static and reused and gives them poor privacy guarantees, but they like it because it's non-interactive and they can just sign it with their PGP key. So it'd be nice if you could do that with Lightning and give the senders some additional privacy benefits and pay lower fees.
Yeah. Go to the second tweet, pull that up. They got rugged by PayPal. Interesting to note. They're a nonprofit organization incorporated federally in Canada. So I wonder if this is Castro, Justin Castro. The Cuban nipple crisis is getting out of hand, freaks. It's getting out of hand. I wouldn't be surprised. The Canadian government's getting pretty Orwellian, even worse than the government down here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the distinction is really necessary. PayPal censors all sorts of organizations for all sorts of reasons.
Yeah.
And they've been doing it for years. And they censor individuals and they just close accounts without any kind of warning. And Twitter will do the same, or X, or whatever you want to call it.
They're saying PayPal was requiring us to provide proof of identity and address for each director, along with other documents.
Yeah, Bitcoin fixes this.
Beware, freaks. I don't know if you can tell. I think I mentioned it earlier, but my voice is completely shot. I got a cold. And
did you see your boy Jason said that he was ordered to take down software?
From the Amazon store? I'm just seeing this comment from Pablo.
I think he insinuated that that MIT and the government stopped him from releasing it. I think that's publicity bullshit, personally.
Stopped him from he already released it.
No way to verify. Yeah, they told him to pull it down and stop talking about it. He's been dark for a while.
Maybe that's why.
He posted it on Twitter. But yeah, mostly bullshit. I wouldn't have brought it up, but Pablo brought it up. I think he just likes the publicity.
Yeah, he's always trying to get engagement. For those asking what's been going on with me, I was ordered to take software down and asked to stop talking about the subject publicly. Doesn't appear on MIT's library either. Maybe we should take this seriously. Maybe the government, maybe it was leaking secrets. The government
better go quickly get my copy of the thesis and give it a read since it's banned.
It's way too long. I got my hands on it actually in Nashville when I was there 2 times ago.
Oh, don't put that in Nashville. Where'd you get it from in Nashville?
The Anchor Watch team was reading it.
Oh, yeah, well.
I picked it up and I said, this
That's
is way too long. This is way too long.
Yeah, no, I did not read it.
It's really a simple thesis. It's like Bitcoin, the only winning move is to play.
Yeah, it's a fucking Bitstamp tweet. He like wrote 400 pages on it.
It's like, no, the only winning move is to play.
God among men.
Yeah. That software distilled in
it's like a single
words.
image. You like that one fucking image, man.
Yeah, we got it. Distribute hash. You're going to want Bitcoin in your border. We got an opportunity here, freaks. I'm feeling optimistic. I'm feeling happy. It's been great to be back in Austin. Shout out again to the Austin Bitcoin Design Club. Sahil, Paul, leading the charge. We got talent. We got smarts. We got good looks. We got some stinky people that don't change their shirts. It's a good eclectic mix of people building the future. And man, I will give you credit after like the original checking the stream. You haven't been that distracted. Did you get rid of the monitors?
No. The trick is to put the chat right underneath the camera. Also, for better or for worse, the chat hasn't been that active today.
It's that time. It's that time of the summer, vacation time. Busiest time at the hot dog stand growing up. Last week of July, first 2 weeks of August. Everybody goes on vacation.
Yeah, I could use a vacation.
We don't get one though. Will the freaks ever let us take a vacation? Will we ever let ourselves take a vacation?
I'm just gonna stop doing RHR, and then I'm gonna wait like 8 months, and then I'm gonna release a post with just a picture of me in bed. And that's gonna be my strategy.
What am I going to do in those 8 months?
just go live and talk to yourself. You can just talk all about call everyone a CIA asset.
I mean, you're going to die. You're going to die on the SBF isn't a CIA asset. You're going to be proven wrong. You're going to die on that hill.
Look, if he sees no jail time, period,
You see what they're trying to get him for?
I don't think that's proof of him being a CIA asset. That's just proof that he's, that he's just part of this massively corrupt system. But I mean, it's not I don't really care either way. Like, does the distinction really matter? The distinction doesn't really matter. I just don't think, every corrupt person is a CIA asset.
Neither do I, but I think he's a very obvious.
I mean, it's a very provocative thing to see. I got great engagement when I tweeted out.
Oh, shut the hell up. I'm not trying to be provocative. It's like...
Yeah, you are trying to be provocative.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
I think Alex Jones is a CIA asset, and I
wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if that's true.
Yeah, there you go. You heard it here first.
Limited hangout. It's too perfect. It's too perfect. All right. I need to go drink some water. My voice is completely shot.
I just wanted to it was there. It is interesting. I know you like talking about the Bluechecks so much, so I just wanted to wrap this conversation with a Bluecheck conversation.
Okay.
And I think what made the Bluecheck case study really interesting is we had a lot of people with very large platforms who like to virtue signal about freedom, comply with an anti-freedom measure. And it was very visible. Like, you could see it happening. This move to allow people to essentially hide their verified status from onlookers so they have plausible deniability around their compliance is much more in line with what we see with most of these things on a daily basis. Like, people that comply with the CBDC, it'll be very hard, not very hard, but it'll be way less obvious to prove who's complying with the CBDC and who's not complying with the CBDC. That wasn't the case with the early Bluechecks, and I thought it made a very interesting atmosphere around it. But yeah, now that it can be hidden, we're kind of back to the status quo. You don't know who's complying and who's not.
I mean, to that, but like the verification, you can use. I know people have used Burner.
I've talked about this at length, Marty. It's going to get more intense. It's very obvious it's going to get more intense, the verification. And if I'm wrong on that, then so be it. But
are you going to apologize for all the defaming you've been doing?
I'm not apologizing for shit. Elon Musk is a CIA asset, and you all complied with his essentially precursor to the CBDC and world identification.
No. I
will not apologize. People should be responsible for their own actions.
You're not getting a pin. Okay?
I definitely do not want a pin. We will not be hand out the opposite in Nashville.
You're not getting one.
And I think it's going to be so obvious after the fact. We already started to see Bluechecks complain about it. There was some doctor who was saying that he thinks the credit card that he had attached to Twitter led to him getting the card canceled because of his speech on Twitter.
Was it that one?
No, it was someone adjacent to him. And they were all surprised, right? And that kind of shit's going to keep happening. People are going to get censored. People are going to get removed from the financial system. People are going to, have negative effects for complying with this shit. And then people realize after the fact. But the only real solution is to just opt out and use Freedom Tech. So to me, this is, it's way bigger than necessarily just verifying on Twitter. I do kind of agree with the main perspective that if you continue to use Twitter in any kind of real way, you are tangentially complicit. So I've just been trying to use Nostr only, and I've mostly stopped using Twitter. But yeah, I think it only gets worse from here. And I think mostly it's the cop out of like, oh, burner number or prepaid credit cards. Like 99% of people are using the same phone number they've used their whole life, and they're using a credit card that's attached to their identity. And he's going to say, it's going to be the most obvious thing in the world. It's going to be like, the bots are getting verified. I need to protect you guys. We're adding an additional layer of verification. And like, that's going to be that. Everyone's going to go boop, 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 boop. And they're just going to fucking give them the extra information.
What do you say? Like I was paying $3 for Twitter Blue before Elon even took over.
It's the identity verification, not the payment.
I did not verify my identity. You can
first of all, to pay for Twitter Blue, you did not need to have a verified phone number attached. When he came in and added the additional reach and additional engagement, essentially shadow banning anyone who didn't verify, he added the phone number verification, and he added a new element to the phone number verification where you couldn't use a burner phone app. Like, you can still get like a prepaid cash app or a prepaid cash SIM, which is hard to get in some places of the world, but you can still get one of those. You go on silent.link, you can pay with Bitcoin, get a SIM, but like, you can't just download like burner app or hushed app or any of these my pseudo app, right? And get like the digital burner numbers. Those are automatically blocked. And they intentionally added that aspect. And here's the thing, like, if it was just about the payment, he could accept Bitcoin payments. He can accept more privacy-focused payments. He's well aware how to do that. Tesla built their own fork of BTC Pay Server, essentially, and then reported a severe bug while they did it to accept Bitcoin payments in the most sovereign way. The guy could get it implemented in like 4 days. But it's not about the payment. The payment's a distraction. It's about the identity verification. And that will become much more obvious over time as things progress. Like, and if I'm wrong, I'll admit I'm wrong at that point. But yeah, it was never about the payment. The payment is the distraction.
No, I actually agree with you. I don't know about payment being the distraction, but like the vision for X.com.
He literally tweeted out, "Authenticate all humans."
Yeah, I know.
I'm not speculating. This is not me just like blindly calling someone a CIA asset.
And he does have this.
They say, and extrapolating it over time based on real world experiences.
Well, see, this is like, I don't appreciate that, number one, because I'm taking very good evidence and extrapolating that it is likely that SBF is a CIA asset. You've seen the pictures of him being MK Ultra'd, okay? His mom, dad, MIT, Stanford connected asset. But I agree with you. X.com. I do.
Yeah, but you didn't.
I do have an announcement. I do have an announcement.
Neither of us had FTX accounts. Right? Because we didn't want to be complicit in whatever FTX was doing while it was doing. So why do we have Twitter accounts? If Twitter was a brand new platform today with what they're doing, I would never have signed up in the first place. Like, I would never sign up for TikTok. I don't have a LinkedIn account. I don't have a Facebook account. I don't have an Instagram account. So then you start to ask yourself, why am I even using this platform? It disagrees with everything I believe in. It's counterintuitive to everything I believe in. And then I think the fucking verifying your identity to use it is a step even further in that direction. That's fucking crazy. It's fucking insane to me. And I'm mostly talking about this from a point of view of disappointment and frustration, but also because I think it'll be a learning experience to people going forward to be vocal about it. And that is why I talk about it. I think it's a very interesting case study, and I think we can learn from this going forward. Like, why are all these influencers that are super vocal against CBDCs essentially supporting and subscribing and verifying their identity to Elon's CBDC platform? Like, that's crazy.
Well, like, again, I did not verify my identity, but I also have an announcement. I did end my subscription, because the X.com stuff is like, once they, like, the day they launched X and like they took Twitter out, it felt really weird. And like, if you go back and you look at the intention of X.com as it was initially launched, rubs me the wrong way. Did not verify my identity, so I will escape the wrath of the CBDC future that he may want to unleash. And yes, I do still have a blue check, but that's because my monthly subscription renews on the 2nd. So
You canceled your blue check? That's what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, one, welcome to the resistance. 2, you gave them a phone number. Which phone number did you give them? Did you not give them the phone number tied to your identity?
Nope.
Interesting. Where'd you buy your phone number from?
SIM card.
Where'd you buy the SIM card?
I forget. Like some store here in Austin.
Okay. If you say so, Marty.
Okay.
No way to verify that. I will say that it is convenient that Marty allegedly is getting rid of his blue check after they gave you the feature to press the hide button.
I'll go in
we know?
next week when my blue check's gone. I'll take a screenshot of my privacy settings and verify for you guys.
Okay. Noted.
Okay.
Well, I'm happy for you, Marty.
No, and I keep telling you to go listen to Max Gagliardi episode.
I'm not going to listen to the podcast.
But that honeymoon period where it's like, oh, rah, free speech is back.
Go listen to what Bitcoin did.
Rah, free speech is back. Like Elon's bringing free speech back.
We have our own podcast every week. I'm not going to listen to that podcast. This is not going to fucking happen.
The honeymoon period, I think, is officially over. Like with the redesign and like the transition.
It's been over for a while.
No, I think it's officially over now with like the X.com.
If you say so.
It's good to be back, freaks. Part of the resistance. I've got some fifth column stories for you guys. They actually kicked me out. They made me unsubscribe because they knew what I was doing.
So much lies everywhere. I don't know what to believe anymore.
Oh, this was a fun one. What are you doing this weekend? Anything?
The X rebrand is just, I think it's just hilarious, but it just seems like such a fucking cell phone.
It was like a very forced.
Twitter had such a strong brand, just the concept of like tweets and everything. It was like Kleenex. To be honest, it was like one of the few things, like it was like one of the key network effects that just held Twitter for so long, I think.
Yeah.
We'll see. It's interesting, like that was what allegedly flipped the script for you. I guess like it's hard for you to admit it was just
it's not Twitter anymore. Like I'll be clear, like I do have a very nostalgic connection to Twitter. I would not be here. We would not be together. Like,
but that was a different. I mean, they had its own problems. It's had a lot of its own problems.
Yeah, like Twitter is how I got here. Literally the tool. Obviously, I helped in some way. I like to think. Being personable. Having some level of intellect, understanding. Being able to piece dots together, but from a networking tool, I would not be here without Twitter.
Yeah, we have Diego in the comments. So this week, if what Marty says is true, it's hard for us to verify it. Allegedly, him, Peter McCormick, and Preston Pish all canceled their blue checks this week.
Yeah. I would say, like, I do, like, if Elon allowed me to pay in Bitcoin from a non-custodial wallet over the Lightning Network without verifying any external information.
And it's not about the identity verification, but he'll never let you do that without identity verification. It's all the whole thing is the identity verification.
Yeah,
it's not the payment.
The thing I was trying to, like,
of course, paying for features is great. Like people should pay for software. I pay for software all the fucking time.
Yeah.
The problem is the identity verification. And he's, like I said, the payment is the psyop. That is the distraction. It's genius. It is really quite clever because every single blue check gets to say, I am no longer the product. I am paying for my service. But really, you just fucking verified your identity, and now you're an even more valuable product to him, and that's why he still gives you ads.
Have you bought any Cheech and Chong gummies yet?
The beauty, Twitter had so many problems. Twitter had so many problems in the past regime, but the whole beauty of it was a town square. That's why they called it, like, every good meme is based in reality. It was this place where people had relatively open discussion, where NIMS could build audiences and participate in the discussion, where you didn't have to give up, all this personal identifiable information to use it. You can interact with people all around the world. And but it had a fatal flaw. The fatal flaw was that it was centrally controlled, and anything that's centrally controlled will get corrupted and captured eventually. And Nostr is what everyone thought they were buying into when they started using Twitter. Like, I have no feature requests for Twitter or x.com or whatever, because I know exactly the trend they're going down, and Nostr fucking fixes it. So I'm content. It's just also been fun to shame you along the way.
You haven't shamed me. I feel no shame.
Yeah.
I feel zero shame.
Your alleged check cancellation says otherwise.
No, x.com is a step too far. Okay.
Oh, that was it, guys. That was it. It wasn't the months of shame. It was the rebrand.
No, it was honeymoon period's over. And I said, once things got too hot, I was jumping ship, and that's exactly what happened. Things got hot.
Noted.
Roll the tapes. Logan, pull up the tapes.
Marty Jones is a CIA.
Pull up the tapes. I said this explicitly. Once it gets too hot, I'm jumping off the train. That's exactly what's happening.
2 days after Bluecheck hiding comes out,
I will take a screenshot of those settings. Okay.
Could be a deep fake. I don't know what to believe anymore.
Neither do I. Are the aliens real? Is Logan real?
Logan's real. I saw the Pleb Lab video.
Is Mitch McConnell a robot that just froze up yesterday?
You can't deep fake that Pleb Lab video yet. It's too good. Too human.
Bits. Logan Bits, baby.
I'm going to get a blue check on the Bits the Ad Guy Twitter account.
Is it worth doxing? Is it worth it?
He follows Vince Offer.
Vince Offer.
Do you have a Bits the Ads Guy Twitter account?
I made the account just to get the screenshot of Twitter.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a lot of effort for that. I like that. All right. Let's wrap this up.
It was a good rip. It was a good rip. It was a good week. Much love, Marty. Much love, Logan. Appreciate you, freaks. Stay humble, stack sets.
Love all y'all. Fuck the blue check. Peace and love.